Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our beautiful St. Luke's United Church in Cambridge on this lovely sunny day. We welcome you all. Thank you for joining us on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you to Andrew, who always makes this possible. Welcome to you all in the sanctuary. We are grateful that you have chosen to be with us here today. Thank you to Marion and Daria for leading us in music, and thank you to the choir, who I know is going to sing a beautiful piece of music this morning. Thank you, Mary, for doing the thumb. And happy Mother's Day to all you mothers, and to all of you who have nurtured, supported, guided young people. Aunts, teachers, friends, coaches, mentors, librarians, Sunday school teachers, and so many more. We appreciate you and have a wonderful day. We have a few announcements. The food bank. Thank you for continuing to support the food bank, both with food and monetary donations, as they are in great need. And we will continue to put out the card on Tuesday evenings for Truckin' Tuesday. Urge to purge. There's still time till the end of May. If you have not already, please consider donating clothes, accessories, books, household goods, textiles. We just ask for no furniture, please. Also, there's lots of different times you can drop these items off. Monday mornings at the church until 2, from 10 until 2. In the evening at Truckin' Tuesdays from 4:30 until 8. And Sunday mornings, of course. Okay. Outreach, our social justice committee, is having a fundraiser for bridges until June 4th. Please give if you are able. The mission statement is to provide safe shelter and to offer programs and services in support of the hopes and needs of people dealing with life's issues. I'm not sure if you saw, some of you a few days ago on the CTV News, that some former residents of Bridges found new employment through local landscaping, planting gardens and seeds for the rest of their lives. They now live in permanent housing. One fellow had lived at Bridges for 15 years. He is now one of 6 who have found employment through this program in your backyard. And all this is made possible by donations and volunteers. This Wednesday, May 17th at 2 p.m. in the Mary Clemens Room, join the UCW. They will have their monthly meeting and all ladies are welcome. We encourage you to bring a friend and join in the fellowship. And if that's not enough, refreshments will be served. Fireside Chat continues to meet every Monday morning at 10 a.m. So if you have not come out and joined them, please do. Our Truckin' Tuesdays are back. Last week was quite successful. There was a lot of people that joined and had a lot of fun. Lots of activity on the lawns with the little ones. There was bubbles blowing, and actually with some of the older ones too. Some were playing cornhole, and there was lots of activities going on. So we hope for the same this Tuesday. And the trucks are, there we go. Cranky Frankie's Hub Grub, the Funnel Cloud, Berlin 95 offering fish and chips, and Pasito Brazil. So there is a bit of flavor for everyone. So please come out and join us. It's always a wonderful community event, and you don't have to cook. Okay. We welcome Karen Cartmell to the pulpit this morning. We're getting to know Karen and other members of her family, Andrew, and his mother, Dorothy. Welcome. And it's a joy and a pleasure. Happy to have you leading us in worship this morning, Karen. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. And welcome to worship here this morning. As Jonia says, my name is Karen Cartmell, and today is May 14th. It is the 6th Sunday in the liturgical season of Easter. Today is also Christian Family Sunday. And as Jonia said, for some people, it's also Mother's Day. So to those who are mothers or who have performed the act of mothering, the act of caring for other people, I'd like to wish them a happy Mother's Day. So today we're going to be talking about families and mothers and love and relationships and some of the women in the Bible. So we're going to start the service by acknowledging the territory on which the church stands. As we gather here for worship, we acknowledge that within the United Church of Canada, our sacred spaces are on traditional lands of our Indigenous people. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation. As we come together to seek justice and love, we give gratitude for this living land that holds us. May we continue to offer love and care to all life that makes home here together. As we prepare to worship together, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Letting go of all your worries, your frustrations, your stresses, and breathing in the cleansing breath as we prepare our hearts for worship. Please join with me in the call to worship, and I'll encourage you to read the bold print that's on the screen. On this Christian Family Sunday, we are called to celebrate relationships: mothers, fathers, grandparents, daughters and sons, friends, mentors, and all those of every gender who nurture us. Our God is a God of relationships, who seeks us out and longs for us to connect with other people and with all of creation. Let us gather here today in the light of Christ to celebrate all of the different relationships that shape and bless our lives. Let us gather here today to praise God. Amen. So our opening hymn is all about being part of the church family. It's Voices United, number 395, Come in and sit down. And please stand for equal. may be seated. And please join with me in the opening prayer. Gracious God, we come into your presence today to celebrate families. We think especially of what family and home have meant to us over the years, and how important it is for each of us to have a place where we are welcomed and accepted. We recognize that we do not all come carrying the same experiences and memories. We are grateful to you, O God, for allowing each of us to make our home with you. We are all acceptable just the way we are. May we continue to be welcoming hosts to all who enter this church home. We ask all of this in the name of Jesus, the one who draws us close to one another and to you. Amen. I'd like to invite Joni Gosling up to light the Christ candle. On this Christian Family Sunday, we are called to celebrate relationships between people who care for each other and support each other. Let us gather in the light of Christ to celebrate all of the loving relationships that shape and bless our lives. Now it's time that we get to pass the peace. So as usual, I'll invite you to do it in a way that feels most comfortable to you. I will be waving from up here. And may the peace of Christ be with you. And also with you. So, hello, everybody. Oh, fire.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This poem is called A Family is Like a Circle, and it reminds us that families come in all shapes and sizes. People you live with, extended family, and a church family, and that families change over time, but being part of a family will always be with you. A family is like a circle. A family is like a circle, the connection never ends, and even if at times it breaks, in time it always mends. A family is like the stars. Somehow they're always there. Families are those who help, who support, and always care. A family is like a book. The ending's never clear, but through the pages of the book, their love is always near. A family is many things, with endless words that show who they are and what they do and how they teach you so you know. But don't be weary if it's broken, or if through time it's been so worn. Families are like that. They're split up and always torn. But even if this happens, your family will always be. They help define just who you are and will be a part of you eternally.
So our next hymn is also about families. It's Voices United, number 556, Would You Bless Our Homes and Families? And please join with me in the prayer of illumination. God, source of all light, by your word you give light to our souls. We come with open hearts and ears and mind. As we listen to your word in Scripture, we ask that these ancient stories help us to learn and enrich our lives today. Amen.
Scripture reading this morning is Exodus chapter 2, verses 1 to 10. This is the Good News translation, the birth of Moses. During this time, a man from the tribe of Levi married a woman of his own tribe, and she bore him a son. When she saw what a fine baby he was, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she took a basket made of reeds and covered it with tar to make it watertight. She put the baby in it and then placed it in the tall grass at the edge of the river. The baby's sister stood some distance away to see what would happen to him. The king's daughter came down to the river to bathe, while her servants walked along the bank. Suddenly she noticed the basket in the tall grass and sent a slave woman to get it. The princess opened it and saw a baby boy. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said. Then his sister asked her, "Shall I go and call a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" "Please do," she answered. So the girl went and brought the baby's own mother. The princess told the woman, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So she took the baby and nursed him. Later, when the child was old enough, she took him to the king's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. She said to herself, "I pulled him out of the water, and so I name him Moses." This is the story of our faith, for which we are grateful. Amen.
perfect song, wasn't it? Yes. So thank you, Marion, for choosing that one. So a year before COVID lockdowns, Andrew and I went on a trip to Egypt, someplace I had always wanted to go. Visiting the pyramids and oogling at King Tut's, all his treasures in the Egyptian Museum, and visiting the first library in the world. It's in Alexandria. There is just so much to do in Egypt. One thing I learned was that ancient Egyptians worshipped their mothers. So as a souvenir of our trip, Andrew and I had a painting done on papyrus of Hathor and her son, because Hathor is called the mother of mothers. And there, Mary's got it up on the screen now. It's a beautiful painting hanging in our house. So the best way to see Egypt is to sail down the Nile River. A very relaxing way to spend a few days, enjoying the scenery and while slowly floating by, and stopping every so often to visit a pyramid or go into the Valley of the Kings or see some ancient temples. The Nile is called the ribbon of green amongst the dry desert land. Date palms and sugar cane, banana trees, and reeds all line the riverbanks. And of course, one can't help but think about the story about baby Moses when you are just gliding along the Nile River. We all know the story of baby Moses, how he was rescued from the Nile by Pharaoh's daughter. But rarely do we stop to think about the woman who put him there. So, since today's Mother's Day, I thought we'd look at this story, the story of one of the mothers in the Bible. Now, it would be nice if this story was about, how to be good to your mother or how to appreciate your mother-in-law more, or how to tell the other women in your life, your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces, neighbors, friends, how much you value them. But today's story isn't about any of those things, although they all make good reminders. Today's message is about a mother who had to make some hard choices for the welfare of her son. If you are a parent, or if you've ever taken care of someone, you will know that parenting and caregiving is not for the faint of heart. Sometimes it requires tough decisions, decisions that are risky and heart-wrenching, decisions that require you to have faith. So Moses' mother, well, how many people here know her name?
No, you said it, but I can't remember it.
Nobody knows her name. Well, until I started researching this topic, I couldn't have put my hand up either. Because she's only mentioned a few times in Scripture. She isn't named in the story of baby Moses that we just heard, but we finally discover her name in the book of Numbers, Numbers 26, verse 59, when the adult Moses is taking a census. The 12 tribes of Israel are listed, including the tribe of Levi. And this woman, Jochebed, is the daughter of Levi. So she's also mentioned much later in the New Testament, in Paul's letter to the Hebrews, in chapter 11, verse 23. He describes her as being one of the most faithful people, faithful to God and courageous. So just to give a bit of background on today's scripture reading, the nation of Israel has been in Jordan for almost 400 years. The people grew and prospered here, but before long, they became a threat to the reigning Pharaoh. So the Pharaoh enslaved them. They worked hard and built cities. Pharaoh hoped to break them, but instead, they grew and prospered and had babies. Pharaoh was getting scared. He didn't want the Israelites to grow in numbers, or else they might rise up against him. So he did the unthinkable. He commanded the Hebrew midwives to murder the newborn sons of Hebrew women as they were giving birth. But the midwives would not. They feared God more than they feared Pharaoh. So Pharaoh took another approach. He told the people to be on the lookout for Hebrew babies. If they saw one, they were to throw him in the Nile and watch him drown. So it was during this reign of terror that Jochebed became pregnant with her third child. Now, she didn't have to worry about her older children, Aaron and Miriam, but she did need to worry about her unborn child. And of course, he turned out to be a boy. So, can you imagine what this was like? Living with the fear of having your child taken away and killed. But even as I say this, I realize there's places in our world today that are just as terrifying for mothers. According to World Vision Canada website, thousands of boys and girls are actively recruited or conscripted in Africa, particularly in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC, sorry I said that backwards, to be child soldiers. I mean, how awful for their mothers to have their children taken away and know you would likely never see them again. And of course, we've heard stories about Indigenous children right here in Canada, when children were forcibly taken away from their parents and put in residential schools. That was approximately 1951 to 1984. These awful stories about parents being forced to give up their children just didn't happen, not just in ancient time. So Jochebed did whatever she could to save her baby Moses. The writer of Hebrews says, "By faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born, because they saw he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict." Doesn't that take courage? To disobey the king, the Pharaoh, and hide a new baby for 3 months? I often think how hard that must have been. I remember the first 3 months with my first son. He had colic, and he cried all the time. So I couldn't have hidden him if I tried. I mean, he simply made too much noise. And it said in the book of Numbers that Jochebed had faith, and faith sometimes calls for us to do risky things. I think of some young couples who desperately want children but can't seem to have any of their own, and take a risk and adopt a child who may otherwise never have had a home. That's a courageous act of faith. And parents who refuse to let their child go to a party, even though, well, all the other kids are allowed to go, because they sense something might go wrong. That's courage too. Now, Jochebed wasn't senseless. After 3 months of hiding her baby, she saw the writing on the wall. She knew she couldn't keep Moses hidden forever. So she made a little wicker basket and covered it with tar and pitch and to make it float, and put it in the reeds in the banks of the Nile River, right where Andrew and I were cruising 4,000 years later. Just an aside, in the Bible, in Hebrew, the word tava, T-A-V-A, is used twice, and only twice. Once is to mean Moses' floating basket, and once it means Noah's Ark. You can kind of see the similarities. Noah's Ark carried the remains of civilization that was worth saving to reestablish the animal kingdom, whereas Moses' Ark carried a baby who was to save the Israelites. Both arks floated dangerously off into unknown future, and both carried great treasures. Both are Tava. But back to the story of our wonderful mother. Although Jochebed knew it was no longer possible to hide her son, she didn't just plunge him into the Nile River to float away. She didn't just stand there and wave and say, "Well, bye, Moses, have a good life, maybe I'll see you sometime." She didn't do that. She put a lot of thought into it. She placed him among the reeds in the banks of the Nile River, where women would congregate. I remember my mother telling me that years ago here in Canada, there were women who would place their babies on the steps of a church or a hospital in a basket. Women who knew they couldn't provide for the babies themselves, but wanted to make sure their children were well taken care of. And then Jochebed asked Miriam, Moses' older sister, to stand at a distance and watch and see what happened to him. And Miriam made a good spy. When Moses was discovered in the Nile by Pharaoh's daughter, Miriam offered to find a Hebrew woman to nurse him. And of course, she found her own mother, Jochebed. So it worked out as well as possible. Jochebed got to spend more time and bond with her son. But what a fierce love this mother demonstrated. To give him up, even when she desperately wanted to keep him with his own family. To do what had to be done. So today, when we celebrate Mother's Day, we think about all the different mothers that are portrayed in the Bible, and the complex joys and trials and tribulations that come with being a mother, or people who are like a mother, friends, mentors, teachers, neighbors, and many others. Mother's Day can evoke a variety of experiences and emotions. So in closing, I'd like to talk about other women in the Bible and their experiences with motherhood. So I found a prayer that was written for Mother's Day. It was originally written by Amy Young, and then it was heavily adapted by Heidi Carrington Heath, and then adopted by me. So here we are, a Mother's Day blessing. May we bless those women like Jochebed who have put up a child for adoption, trusting another family to love their child into adulthood. May we bless the women like Pharaoh's daughter who love and raise children that aren't their own by birth. May we bless mothers or women like Mary, who are pregnant for the very first time and don't know what to expect. May we bless women like Sarah, who find themselves pregnant at an odd stage in life. May we bless women like Rachel, who remain childless year after year while having to celebrate with friends and family who get pregnant. May we bless women like Tamar, who want to be a mother, but struggle with infertility or the pain of miscarriage. May we bless women like Hagar, who find themselves a single parent without support, feeling like they're out in a desert. May we bless women like Naomi, who have known the bitter sting of a child's death. So this Mother's Day, if you see yourself or your partner or your daughter or neighbor or friend reflected in one of these stories, or in none of these stories, may you remember that God walks with us and with us through all stages of life. We might not all be mothers, but we all had mothers. And through the mothers we see in the Bible, may we know the deep love of God. May it be so. Amen. So I found a hymn with words by Carolyn Gillette that seemed to fit well with our theme this morning. It's about women in the Bible who answered God's call, and I'm just going to make sure everybody knows about them all. So I know you know about Sarah. We've talked about Sarah many times here at St. Luke's, that amazing woman who gave birth at age 90 to Isaac. Yeah, we all know her. Hannah, she's the mother of Samuel. He's the little boy who heard God calling to him in the middle of the night, and he grew up to be a prophet. There's Ruth, the young widow who chooses to accompany her mother-in-law Naomi to Judah, despite not being that background herself. There's Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Susanna, those three women who financed Jesus' ministry. And then there's Phoebe, and you may not know Phoebe. She's named in Paul's letter to the Roman church, Romans 16, verses 1 and 2. And of note is that Phoebe is the only woman who's named as a deacon in the Bible. She carried the letter to Rome on Paul's behalf. So his letter starts by introducing her as deacon, as a leader of the church, and says she was a benefactor to many people, including Paul himself. So let's sing this wonderful hymn. It's a familiar tune. It's Be Thou My Vision is the tune, and the words will be up on the screen, and let's just stand and enjoy them. may be seated. This is the time when we bless the offerings that have been given to this church. These are the gifts of our labors and our hearts. So as your offerings are brought forward, let us sing from More Voices, number 171, Christ has no body now but yours, and we'll sing the refrain. And let us pray. Loving God, we come to you praying that you will enlarge our vision of family. As family, we are asked to love and care for each other. We bring our gifts to you to support the members of your family, because they are also members of our family. We know that these offerings will be transformed by you into precious gifts, in the same way that the dandelions we brought to our mothers, our teachers, our caregivers became priceless bouquets. Receive and bless our offering in Jesus' name. Amen. And let us gather our prayers at this time, and we ask that you remember all the people listed on the screen today in your prayers. So let us pray. Loving God, today is Mother's Day, a day filled with many different meanings for many different people. For some, it is a day filled with love and joy. For others, it is a day filled with pain and sorrow. Some of us will be celebrating today with relatives, mothers, mothers-in-law, daughters, pseudo-aunts, or other people who have nurtured us or provided us guidance. Others of us will be spending today thinking of loved ones who have passed away. For everyone who mourns the death of their mother, whether it be 5 days ago or 50 years ago, the grief is still there. Some of us are caregivers to our mothers or mothers-in-law. Some of us are the person being taken care of. Some of us are watching or have watched our mother's age. Some of us are the ones who are aging and have to depend on family members or other caring people to drive us places or help with daily routines. Some of us have sat with our mothers through illnesses, and some of us remember our mothers sitting with us through an illness. Some of us have watched our mothers disappear into the long goodbye of dementia or suffer with other debilitating diseases. God of all people, we ask that you give us bold love for one another and the realization that we need one another no matter where we find ourselves in life. Holy One, today we pray for many people, our families, and people who are like family to us. We also pray for people we don't know by name, but who need our prayers. We pray for the poor, the marginalized, those who have no family, and those who have no place to call home. We pray for those who are ill, those who are facing an uncertain future, and those who have burdens too heavy to share, even with close family and friends. With caring prayer, we enfold those who feel alone and those who feel the heavy weight of grief. We pray for people in Alberta and northern Saskatchewan who are enduring so many wildfires so early in the season, being displaced from their homes, farmers worried about cattle who are in calving season. Let those who had to evacuate their home be safe and not in danger or fear. May they know that you are with them. Our hearts go out to the family of the OPP officer who was killed near Ottawa this week while responding to the sounds of gunshots in a home, and the other 2 officers who were injured in the ambush. May they hear our prayers and know we are grateful to people who put their lives on the line to protect the rest of us. We lift now the names of specific people or specific situations in our silent prayers. May your Spirit move through their lives, the spirit of healing, of compassion, of warmth, and of love. Gracious God, we gather these and all our prayers together and send them to you as we listen to the choir sing the Lord's Prayer. Our final hymn is Voices United, number 226, For the Beauty of the Earth.
Glory
to remain standing while we say the benediction and commissioning together. And now, warmed by the sustaining memories of family and friends, strengthened by the families we have chosen for ourselves, knowing that we have a great family with God, we leave this time of worship. We go back into the world with hearts open, with faith stronger, with purpose clear, to be God's family to one another and to everyone in God's world. May we go in confidence and promise, for God is with us. Amen.